Just wait for a few people to sign in. So, how's things, mate?
Good, pretty good. Pretty hot. Weather's picked up nicely here. So the last couple of days have been quite different from the majority of the lockdown.
I was going to say, it must be a few people to sign in.
How about you?
Yeah, all good, mate. All good. Let me just sort a couple of little bits out. There we go. Cool. Yeah, no, all good. Here, weather has been much better today, so enjoying actually seeing the sunshine for a little bit, which makes a huge difference.
Oh yeah, must do in England.
Yeah, to not see the sunshine is, not ideal, but It's been good that it's out. Oh, hi guys. So we've got Laurie O'Keefe. Laurie, I'm really sorry if I've said that wrong, but hey to you. Hi Yayan as well. So Yayan Davis. So
hey,
just pop those up on there. So hey guys, good to have you here. So for you guys and for anybody else who comes in, format of this evening, we're going to go through our normal kind of podcast. So I'm going to be asking Andrew a load of questions. But at any point, if you guys got anything you want to ask or whatever, just get stuck straight in and ask away. So first off, Andrew, who are you, where are you from, and who are you currently working for?
So I'm Andrew Wilson, and I'm originally from England, but I'm currently in Spain. I've been here I got here 12 years ago, and I'm currently coordinator of the women's section, or the senior women's section in Club Agara, and I also coach in the hockey school. So I won on Tuesdays and Thursdays with the under-16s or the under-8 or the under-14s, and then I also work with the National Federation. So I'm assistant coach to the senior ladies. I also work in the Performance Centre here in Barcelona, and I was the assistant coach with the indoor team in European Cup this year.
Pretty busy schedule. So how did you end up in Spain? Like, English guy, Englishman abroad. How did you end up there?
I did my year abroad for uni, and I got lucky that the British Council posted me in Manresa, which is half an hour inland from Terrassa, and I checked it out on the internet and saw that I could easily commute to work each day at the secondary school I was teaching at. So sort of turned up here after sort of sending a couple of emails, making a few phone calls, and sort of stayed here for 2 years, went back for England for another year, and then came straight back to Spain.
Mate, that's now you're living the dream. Because you've been there, did you say you've been there 7 years now?
No, I got here 12 years ago.
12 years ago.
12 years ago. So I did two, one back in England to finish my degree, and then came straight back here. So it must be about looking at 9 on the bounce at the moment.
Nice. I know we've kind of touched on this kind of off camera and before, but I think you've got a really fascinating story on kind of how you became one of a senior international coach who's been to the Olympic Games and been to Europeans now. Like, I think your story is really fascinating. So why don't you tell the guys like how you ended up where you are?
So the short form is that I was working. I've been working with the team since 2013, and I came in as analyst as the team. I also worked with the under-21s as their assistant coach. I think it was both jobs at the same time from 2013 to 16, and then from there I was asked to become the assistant coach to the senior team. Mm-hmm. As well as working in performance centres at the same time through all of that periods with all the different age groups. So at the moment, my job in the performance centre is assistant coach to the seniors, but also I support the under-21 coach and the under-18 coach, and it would have been the under-16 coach, but the session didn't start in time for us to get any in before the virus.
Oh man!
And then the longer story is that I started coaching at my dad's Old Bordinians Club. My dad's the president there, chairman. I say president because it's everything. When I say it in Spanish, that's what I have to say. And I coached the under-14 boys. I was like in my final year at sixth form, and they needed a coach, and I wanted to be a good clubman. I mean, I just wanted to give back to the club because it was my life, basically. And so got involved and started doing my coaching courses, did my level 1, did my level 2 just before I went to uni. Just before I went to uni. I went to Exeter for my first year, coached their men's 5s and 6s, coached their ladies 4s and 3s, I think. And then moved back to Canterbury, back to the area to go to Kent Uni. Did a few bits and pieces there with the second teams, especially I think more in the women's section. Went to Spain and was with the under-18 boys, the second team boys, the under 12 girls B team. It was actually the first team I started with here, all in one season.
Yeah.
Then I got offered to stay out here for a season. The club really liked how I was working, and they said you can be with the under-18 boys as assistant coach with a guy called Pablo Diaz. Pablo was the first team coach, would move into the under-18s, and he was also one of the assistant coaches at the Beijing Olympics when they won the silver medal.
Pretty tidy coach then. Yeah,
he was good, and he actually took that team on and won indoor and outdoor regionals and indoor and outdoor nationals all in one season. So he won every competition and just walked away with everything. Yet the talent in that group was incredible.
Yeah.
That group then went on, several of them were playing first team. Most of them played second team and won the second level of National League here 3 or 4 years in a row. Incredible year as well.
Wow.
The other option was to take on the girls under-18 team who hadn't made national finals that year. And the appeal of that was that there were loads of under-16 players who were incredible coming through, and I could do anything I wanted with the team.
That's so exciting to have that. Oh, it's tough, isn't it? Because you've got your own freedom to go whatever way you want, or you go with a seriously experienced guy. That's quite the choice. So yeah, it was just putting it into a balance, and I thought, well, I might as well just throw myself into it because I don't know if I'm going to do this ever again. Yeah. So at that point, I hadn't really made a decision to be a professional coach, and I went, right, I'll take on the girls. There were no expectations because they hadn't made national finals at under-18s, but they had made national finals. I think they won the under-16 national finals. Okay.
The previous year. So I went in and we won both regional indoor and outdoor. We finished second in national indoor on golden goal, and we finished fourth in national outdoor, which was disappointing. We could have done better, but I think my management of that situation just didn't help us. But it was my first year coaching, so yeah,
that's a pretty tidy year.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. And then from there, I came back, worked with Kwan at Canterbury as assistant coach. Straight back to I was coaching at Kent Uni as well, both men's and ladies first teams. Straight back to Agara.
We've got a big up from Connor Anand on here saying Sittingbourne massive. So I'll bring that back up on here just so for the guys to see.
Oh, brilliant. So I went to school in Sittingbourne, same school as Connor, and I then went back to Agara's ladies first team assistant coach, then sort of shuffled around throughout the years. Stayed assistant coach for 2 years, then moved into the second team and started a project to get the second team promoted into National League, which we didn't do the first year, but they did do the second year with a different coach. And they were in so were one of the only clubs in Spain to have their women's, ladies, ones and twos in National League.
Oh, wow.
There were only 4 clubs. Yeah.
Whoa. That's pretty cool.
And we were the first Catalan club. Yeah. That was really cool.
Nice.
And then I took over the ladies' first team as head coach for 3 years, up until the end of last season.
Nice. So you were saying that you work in kind of the performance center side. Performance center. The English guys watching, the Spanish performance center stuff is very, very different to English performance center. So like, what's the structure there? I say very different. It is different. So what's the kind of the structure in Spanish hockey?
So it's really based around clubs, because we've got so few clubs here compared to England. Like in England, you've got over 100,000 people playing hockey. I'd say maybe 120. I think it maybe gets up to that.
Something around that.
And we've got 20,000 people in Spain playing hockey. That's it. And a lot of those numbers are actually, they're not false, because we've got licensed people, but there are a lot of mummies and puppies. Like we have categories called mummies and puppies.
Oh, cool.
Who have joined around the country, which is incredible.
Yeah.
But they're not high performance, as it were. They don't go in. They're not potential high performance. They're coming in at a different stage of the pathway. So the clubs do an incredible job, and because it's a more condensed sort of club focus, with more numbers, more money as a result as well in certain clubs. The structure of the hockey schools is great, and the competition, especially in Catalonia and also in Madrid and in other regions as well, as it's really good. And then we've got the sort of the regionals. So we have under 16, under 18 regionals each year, and that's a great competition as well. It's like all leagues stop for that weekend.
Oh, nice.
Or for those weekends, and it's really cool. From there, we also have a talent detection scheme, which works alongside the regionals. Cool. So maybe there are some people who don't get picked up through the regional system, but we can get them through the national detection scheme. So we've got several seniors who started through that national talent detection scheme rather than playing for their regional team.
Oh, nice.
Or rather being picked up through regional team. So that's really cool.
And you guys, as the senior coaches, are baked into this whole process all the way through, aren't you?
Not so much with the regional stuff. We come in at the sort of the national performance centre level, which would be Madrid, Santander, and Catalonia. Mm-hmm. And so from those regional competitions, and also from clubs as well, we don't limit ourselves to, if you don't get in on the first level, you're not coming in. We've got so many players who mature a bit later. We're always keeping an eye on every club team, making sure we know that, and because we can, because there are so few girls relatively to other countries, and we can pick them up whenever we want, really.
Nice.
Which is really cool. But as you say, we have lots of coaches so especially Madrid and in Barcelona, who work in pretty much all the age groups or have done over the years. Mm. And the communication throughout the line is amazing. It's also the communication with the clubs is fantastic, and with the regional centres is fantastic. My opinion, obviously people will have had different experiences at different times. I myself will have had that adverse experience, but in general, it's fantastic. And it's good to have the same coaches consistently in there for several years, because you don't have to keep teaching new people how to do it over a year and then they leave. Yeah. So that's really good.
Got a question here. So first proper question of the night. So Ian Davis, hypothetical timeline. What could have changed if you'd gone with the experienced coach environment instead of going off on your own to be the head coach at that kind of...
Maybe since I made that decision, I haven't gone back to men's hockey.
Okay.
At all. And so I probably would have been more into men's hockey. Maybe, you never know, I mean, that coach, after it was 1 or 2 seasons, then stopped coaching hockey completely and just focused on teaching. So maybe I would have become the head coach of the under-18s. Maybe I would have. You never know. I think the men's structure in the club is a bit more volatile is the word that I would say.
Okay.
It's not the right word. I don't know what it is in English. There are more changes quite more regularly because they're a bigger section, but they also their line of work, sort of their threads between the teams isn't so pronounced right now as it is in the women's section. And it's a true statement that most people would make, but that's also because I've been in the women's section since 2009.
Yeah.
Except for that year in Canterbury.
Yeah.
So I've been a constant fixture, and I've been the one that's. It's like there were times when I was working with first team 18s and 16s all in the same season.
Whoa.
So I was making sure that everyone was where they were supposed to be. Everyone was getting the same experience relatively.
Okay. Yeah, you kind of look back across your career, don't you? I'm thinking now, are there any major kind of tipping points in my career which would have maybe changed? But no, I can't think of any at the moment. I think maybe the biggest one was, around about 2011 when I first started in Marlow. I think that was probably quite a big year for me. And if I'd maybe picked a different school, would I have ended up where I am now? Who knows? But yeah, you just got to go with the path that you take, haven't you? Yeah,
I mean, I think in most of my decisions, where I've got to have been I've been able to control to a certain extent through how I am as a person, how I am as a coach.
Yeah.
I had I think two big breaks, but it's one really was when I was coming to Spain in 2008. I didn't know which club I was going to go to, and it just so happened that when I was contacting the clubs, that Igara, when I actually phoned, their new director of the sports of the junior section, was moving into his office that day.
Oh, amazing!
And I hadn't been able to get through to people at other clubs, and he just straight away just went, "Yes, come."
Amazing.
And so that was a real stroke of luck. I think the other one was that when I was back in Spain and was going to my second season back in Spain, the women's coach decided to move on, and the club brought in Adrian Locke, who was under-21 coach at that point.
Right, okay.
Had just that summer won the silver medal with the under-21s out in Holland. I think they lost 9-1 to the Dutch in the final, but in the result, it's just the whole thing was incredible. And then within 3 months, he was offered the senior team job. So he did 3 seasons at the club whilst being senior head coach of the national team at the same time. So I was with him in the club, not always as assistant coach, but the stroke of luck was that he came to the club, but then when he was there, I had to show my worth.
Yeah, for sure. Because you only get an opportunity if you're good enough and you're putting the hard work in behind the scenes. So,
without a doubt.
So another question. Let me just bring that up onto here. Looking back at your own player experience of the England pathway and your experience of the Spanish pathway as a senior coach, what would you change in the English pathway system? Good question.
Right.
And this is obviously going back, so you've not seen the English pathway for a while. So
yeah, so you're talking about 12 years since I was in there. The only experience as a coach I had in the English pathway was that I did one summer with Laurie as at the JRPC. So Laurie was the head coach, I was his assistant coach. I think it was with the under 15 girls. So we did a summer, 6 weeks worth of training together, I think it was. So it's my own experience as a coach. And actually Kevin Johnson was our head coach of the centre at Tunbridge.
Oh, cool.
Which is cool. Another Kentish guy working in international hockey now. As a player, I only played county I think I played county under 21s, and that was because, in all honesty, not many people wanted to play.
Yeah.
And I mean, I played at county B level, and then people started dropping out the system, and I was getting my chances, which is what happens. You have to take the chances you get. But I've never played National League. I got 5 minutes in the Spanish National League as a player because the night before someone dropped out, and I happened to play in a team that was connected. So in Spain, the system's different. You can only move up a team if you play in a team that has the same name. So that you can't. I'm not really sure why.
I don't think we are. That's quite complex.
So I got called. I was actually out for dinner and got a call from the coach and went, "Can you play tomorrow?" So it was my dream to play National League. I'm not going to lie, but that's all I did. I got 5 minutes because I was awful.
So is there anything from your memory then that you would change? Obviously, like we said, it was back then, things were different then, but what do you, I guess maybe more like, what do you see, if you were to pick one thing that's really good about the Spanish pathway, what would it be? And Laurie says under 18s.
I was under 18s with it. I think that the clubs are the real success in the Spanish pathway.
Okay.
Because without them, we wouldn't get the talent coming through. And I really think that's the real strength that the Spanish system has. And then when you get into it, I think it's the staff members.
Yeah.
And how we communicate with one another through all different levels and all different layers.
Nice.
To club, regional, and national level. In terms of English hockey, when I was there, I think I didn't get enough opportunities. I think I went to some sort of trials at Bisham. I can't even remember what age group it was for. I don't even know what it was. I didn't know where I was at the time. My dad took me. But I think what's really good now is that there is opportunity for kids. When I wasn't there, it was difficult. I played in a small club, and so I didn't get any experience to top junior competition. I got the county competition with my club, but I didn't play the Mercian League, which is what Canterbury is playing, for example. If you play in the Mercian League, I'm sure you get more exposure to better coaches seeing you, basically. I'm guessing. I have no idea. But that's sort of what happens here. You get players from other regions that aren't Catalonia and aren't Madrid that don't necessarily get seen, which is why I think we got a guy called Bebe, or Andres Mondo. His nickname is Bebe, he's one of the assistant coaches for the seniors, but he also leads that detection scheme. Nice. And he goes around the country and deliberately goes to regions where there's not such structured competition and runs sessions and gets to see players. And he will do a really good job of promoting those players within the system. And we've got players in our national team that are seniors we've got players who come from the south of Spain, who come from the north of Spain, and that's not Catalonia, that's not Madrid. Yeah. And that's a real great strength of the system as well. The fact that but that's also because we've got such few numbers, and we can allow ourselves that as well.
Yeah, for sure. So a couple of quick fire questions. So kind of first short answer that comes to the top of your head. How do you cope in challenging situations? Short and sharp.
I breathe.
Nice.
And I come in prepared, basically. And if something happens, I've normally got an answer, but I just have to make sure I breathe and I show the girls I'm confident.
Are there any upcoming trends in the women's international game?
As in playing trends?
Yeah, playing trends.
I think it's just generally becoming ever quicker and ever a stronger game, basically. I don't think there's trends you may think that people are doing more building up with 3, building up with 4, looking to play through the centre, looking to play more in certain ways. Yeah, maybe, but that depends on the coach, depends on the players, and things come in and out of fashion. So I just think the real trend is that people are really working on their fitness and fitness and emotional stability.
Yeah, I think that emotional stability is massive, and I think it's coming to the forefront more so in terms of mental health, but actually, have you got that mental stability within sport just to, I guess, keep enjoying it and staying with it? I guess that must be massive. Top tips for learning Spanish? Someone's asked on Instagram.
Move to Spain, honestly, and I just being immersed in it is difficult, but it is the best way. If not, I mean, I was learning it at school. My degree was in Spanish as well, so I did it deliberately to learn. But move out here, or move to South America or Central America.
Nice. Next one from Instagram. What do you think are the major differences between the Spanish and the English game?
Difficult because I've hardly seen any of the English domestic game.
So we'll go international.
International. I think a general sort of trend over many years, a difference, maybe sort of the type of pressing that we do. I think we generally press a bit higher than the English over longer periods of a game. But it also depends on the players you've got. Like England traditionally were a very sort of powerful team who base themselves a lot on their physical abilities rather than their coordination skills and maybe their decision making. Very general terms. I'm treading eggshells here. And in Spain, I think in general we move the ball around a bit more. But that's very general terms.
I think here we go. Another question that's just come up on here. Let me bring this over. We've seen 3D and zonal change the men's game a lot in the last few years. Is it going to start affecting the women's game?
No, it's just hockey, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I think man-to-man, zonal, it's all... I can't swear. I was about to swear. It's all much and much.
Yeah.
Depends on what you need at the moment in that situation. Yeah, men's did a lot of man-to-man, and they moved, and lots of teams decided to do zonal again. In women's game, most teams tend to do a zonal. People will dispute that. So, no, it's a mix. But you do it with it. I mean, you could even mix it between lines. You know, it's actually genuinely a debate that I don't like because I think it's stupid. I'm sorry, with all respect, who asked it, but that's my opinion. With regards to 3D and in the women's game, I think it will be much and much. I think people do use the aerial, but not as much as the men because maybe the general strength isn't there and the awareness isn't there. Mm-hmm. But I think it's coming in. You see teams like Argentina looking to play from the centre backs. They're looking to play it through the centre, just beyond the midfielder and just before the sweeper, and really to create confusion as to who in the defensive team is going to pick that ball up. Once you know they're doing it, it's easy to pick up. But I mean, that's sort of something that they've started to do a bit more, especially last year.
Yeah, and I think going back to kind of the start of the question, like I say, from my knowledge, like in the women's international game, traditional zone's been played for a long time, and I know there have been kind of variations of like zone man aware and things like that in the international women's game. But yeah, as far as I can, women have predominantly been zonal anyway, so I don't think there's a huge change yet. But I agree. I think the way people are using the aerial ball now is far more deliberate. And it's far more precise in what they're trying to do. It's not just, I'm going to chuck a 50-metre bomb. It's, I'm going to chuck it 20 metres, but it's exactly there for a reason. And I think that 3D element, if we're talking 3D in that sense, in terms of aerials, I think that's going to be quite exciting moving forwards. Particularly if you look at and again, going back to the men's game more so, what's going on there. I think I've seen more aerials thrown in the last 18 months in the men's game than I have in years.
Yeah, that's true, and that will be just a reaction to how teams are defending and how high lines are.
Correct.
And in the women's game, if that were a necessity, we'd be doing it. If it's something that we in the women's game see that we can make the most of, teams will start doing it. And I think that's generally that's sport in general, and down to the capabilities of the coaching staff and the players and the people who make those decisions.
Yeah. Couple from me. I've got a question. What would you say? So there's a 15, 16, 17-year-old player, talented, aspirational, this and the other. What would be kind of your one or two key bits of advice for them moving forwards? So they've got some talent, they've got skill. What would you say helps differentiate a talented 16-year-old, 17-year-old who doesn't make it versus a 16, 17-year-old that does make it? And when I say make it, I'm talking either consistent in kind of Premiership or top flight, or making 21 seniors, that kind of, or just not getting as far as that. Like, what would you say the main differences are?
I think you've got to be working on, and this is not in order, but
No.
Physical conditioning is vital, especially a jump from 21s to seniors. If you're not, that's one of the biggest differences for me there. Sort your head out, sort your heart out, make sure that and I can use the word again, you're stable and you know when to push more and not push so much. Be a nice person. Just be a nice person. And
can we hold on that? Like, how underrated is that? Just being a good person who's good to people. Like, just blows my mind how people miss this. Like, go and talk to someone, be personal, and actually be a joy to be around. Like, that's so important, and I think people underestimate that massively.
And I think it's underestimated by coaches when they select people for programs as well. Mm-hmm. And I think for me, it's one of the key things I look for when people are coming in to our program. What are they like? How are they going to work with the rest of the group? Are we going to adapt the rest of the group to them? Are they going to be able to adapt to us? Which is normally, both things are possible. But if they're not the right match, I'll be very, very skeptical about taking them on. Definitely.
Yeah, because ultimately it's a team sport. Yes, you'll have mavericks. Somebody just said, great point, Ree, being a nice person, so good to hear. Oh, it is. And I think people need to just be nice to people more often, particularly with everything that's going on at the moment. Like, it's more important than ever, I think, just to be good to people. Opens doors as well. Like you said, you were fortunate enough to be at the club at the time when Adrian arrived. If you weren't a good person and you didn't work hard and you didn't try hard, he would have been like, I ain't bothered with him. Like, just because you're in the same place, Ooh, Laurie, here we go. Good question. Can you tell us about hockey fives? Do we need to prepare this at club level to feed, and he's put feed, into future international level?
I don't know, and I'm really sorry because actually, as a federation, I'm not privy to if we have made a decision about, for example, if we're going to participate in hockey fives.
Okay.
That's a decision that still needs to be made, that's been pushed back, obviously, given the current situation. Mm-hmm. I think that it's an interesting format for countries that don't have access to facilities to play the 11-a-side or even indoor, because there will be countries in those circumstances.
Yeah.
I think it's good for that. I don't see it taking the current place of 11v11. I was personally concerned when hockey was threatened as an Olympic sport. I thought maybe that would be an option. I'm sure it was probably on the table, and every option is always on the table. But I don't think it will ever take us away from the great 11v11 format that we have. And I think it would even be third place to the indoor format. I actually made a similar question in the Spanish conferences we've got online at YouTube, on YouTube at the moment. We did an indoor one yesterday.
Oh, nice.
And I asked the same question to the guy from Complutense who represents Spain in the club competition each year in Europe. And he also said the same thing. He said, He said, I don't have that macro vision, but he said, it's a nice game. It's exciting to watch, but it won't take the place of indoor. It won't take the place of 11v11.
And I guess for me, my kind of last real question, kind of short answer, and we'll come on to this question that's just popped up in a second. I know your answer to this, and I know my feeling of this. How important do you think it is for people to go and play abroad? Like, I mean, it's changed your life indefinitely, like to an unbelievable scale.
It's important for everything. Yeah.
Would you recommend people just get out there and like gap year or even post uni, just go?
Yep. And more people are doing it every year. And I think clubs, especially in Belgium and in Holland, are very open to players coming over. Spain are open, but it's a bit more complicated with the language. But you've got to give it a go, because not only for your hockey, just for your life. Yeah. It was a bit of advice that a friend gave me when I moved to uni. I was thinking about going to Canterbury or going to Exeter. He said, get away, just get the experience. You can always come back here. And that was the same thought I had in my mind when I was deciding whether to leave Spain or stay on for another year, because I almost left Spain after my first year here because I wasn't really having a good time. But I stuck at it because I can always go back. Yeah. And England will always be my home. So.
And I loved my experience in Belgium. Like, it's one of those things. I thought I knew hockey to a good level, having before then head coach in the Premiership, coach junior international level. Like, I thought I knew hockey pretty well. Going abroad, just literally, I felt like the blinkers came off and I was like, oh my God, and particularly fortunate enough in Belgium, it was easy enough to hop over to Holland and spend some time over there and stuff. But yeah, I think that's just massive. We've got
I'd even love to jump onto other countries as well.
Oh yeah,
like beyond Spain, just because for that same thing, just to keep learning and just to get new experiences.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it doesn't matter the level of the player either. I think that's the important thing. I think people think, I'm only going to go abroad if I'm Premiership player, I'm a National League player at 16. Like, I think any junior who's got aspirations just to stay in love with the game, get out and just be abroad for a year. Like, I think it's massive. Yeah.
And I mean, you may be limited depending on your standard about where you can go.
Yeah,
of course, because I mean, a National League club isn't going to pick up just anyone.
No.
They're going to go through references and they're actually going to go out looking for people.
Yeah.
You can write them all you want. And I mean, I wrote them. I came and played for what was effectively the third team here. And the club were just nice enough to say, okay, you don't have to pay a membership fee.
Yeah.
That was it. And that was enough for me. And I sorted out my own accommodation, everything.
Yeah. So I've got two more questions on here. Do this one first. You've mentioned indoor a few times. Your views on it and how is it perceived in Spain?
I love it, and every time we get back to indoor here, I realise how much I love it. And I've actually this year, because of sort of the impulse of the momentum of being with the national team again, not with again, being with the national team, being a bit more involved with a team in indoor, because I haven't been involved so much over the last couple of years. I decided to really push it at the club, but then COVID-19 came along and that scuppered everything. As it has for so many flats. But I love it, and in Spain, it's not given the importance it deserves, in my opinion, for several reasons. For example, the Catalan clubs won't play the national finals, except for clubs who don't play top national league, except for Barcelona Football Club. They do play indoor because of economic reasons.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, Club Agara don't play indoor because we have to pay for lots of teams to go to national finals, playoffs, etc., etc. And the club has said, we're not going to pay for indoor. If teams want to go, they pay for it themselves. So we could, but the players won't pay for it because they're already paying other things on top of that, as membership-wise. And then as a national federation, we hadn't played again until this year. And we have, and I think it's a great opportunity to give up, for example, our development group senior competition time. So we, and I think that's been really good. And I'm talking about just the women's side of things. I actually don't know what the men did with their indoor team.
Okay.
I don't know if they were the best players or if they were the development players. I don't know.
Okay. Do you feel progression in hockey as a junior player? Let me read that again. Do you feel progression in hockey as a junior player can be a lot with getting opportunities? And if those that don't make it, what's your advice?
I think life's about opportunities. You have to create those opportunities, and you have to know how to take them, and then make the most of them, and keep them and keep them in your life. So there is a lot of onus on the person, but also that's not always the case. We are constricted by society and our context sometimes. I had to forge my own way, because coming from a relatively small club, I think if I'd stayed there, I definitely wouldn't be where I am now. I don't think I'd be coaching. I doubt it. So you have to force your way sometimes, but that's what winners do in life in general. If I'm honest, and you can't really. I'm going to say look for excuses, because if you've got the opportunity to change it, and everyone's got the opportunity to change to a greater extent, you just got to make tough decisions, even if that tough decision may be leaving your family. I left my family. I lived with my family since I left for uni when I was 18. I've been back to visit, of course,
obviously,
but I moved away because I knew that I needed that as a person to grow. Now, if someone doesn't make it, I think that it'll be a good time to reflect on what you're doing in your life. I genuinely feel bad for people who are disappointed when they don't make it. And they obviously had expectations, because that's why they're disappointed. But I also think another good thing that a lot of the girls that we have in a national team, both seniors and under 21s, their expectations are all very low. For example, the girl who won player of the tournament when the under 21s won the gold has zero expectations. So humility is incredible, and that's the case for all of them. If they don't get selected, of course they're disappointed. They want to go, but they're capable of putting things in context so quickly.
Yeah,
and I think sometimes that's where our expectations can betray us quite a bit.
I think probably my other bit to add on top of that is, if you don't make it as a player, and neither of us made it as players, there are so many paths and avenues within hockey. Like, coaching's one, and there's analysis, there's been physio, doctor, like whatever. There's so many different opportunities to stay umpiring, like technical officials.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many different ways to stay in the sport. Don't just think, okay, I've not made it as a player, that's it, I'm out of the game. Like, stay in the game. Like, that's so important. I mean, I stopped playing when I was 24, 25. I stopped playing. Like, I haven't looked back. Like, love life in hockey at the moment. I get to travel the world. I get to talk to amazing people. Like, I've coached some cool people. Like, love it. Like, why would I go back to playing? Like, I love being in the game.
Yeah. And that was a conscious decision I had to make, because when I came out to Agara, they actually said to me before they'd even seen my face, they went, "You're not going to make our first team, and you probably won't make our second team." Because we had 9 of the Olympic squad and 5 under-21s. 5 under-21s in our second team. And 3 of those, I think, are current seniors. I mean, so I got there and went, "Oh shit, this is not going to happen." Went back to Canterbury and thought, maybe. Got to Canterbury and went, "No, there's just no way." Oh yeah, you can join in and you can learn, but I was pretty agile and just went, "What do you want? You want to make it? Well, okay, what do you want to make it as? You're not going to do it as a player. Just save yourself that disappointment right now.
Yeah.
Take it now before you really invest time and effort into it, and invest time and effort into something else which you could actually do." And I realized very quickly I couldn't do it as a player, so I thought, well, just throw everything into a coach. And I actually set myself. It was 2009. I remember I was at a friend's house, and I said, I'm going to give myself 10 years, and I'm just going to cut myself off. And I did, maybe to the detriment of several things in my life. I cut myself off from the world, basically, and just went hockey,
tunnel vision,
coaching for 10 years. And I just went, in 10 years' time, I'm going to see where I can get to. And 10 years, it was 2018. So that 10-year period, we won the bronze at the World Cup. And of course, my experience is quite unique in that aspect. But you can go, as you say, coaching, officiating, just making your club the best it can be. Enjoy life, enjoy hockey.
Yeah, and I think people get so tunnel vision on I need to make England that they forget to love the game. I did. When I was playing, I was so tunnel vision. I want to be the best. I want to be the best. I want to be the best. And actually, I missed the moment. Like, I just didn't enjoy it. And I did enjoy parts of it. I'm not saying I hated playing. Like, nowhere near as much as I enjoy now. And I think because I've enjoyed the process and enjoyed the journey, I think people just need to do that. And just the club hockey is so important for that. Stay in clubs, play to the best you can play, or if not play, help build the best club possible. And there's family there. Like, that's big.
I don't enjoy playing. I don't like playing anymore.
No,
I haven't played for maybe 4 years, and I genuinely have no wish to go back and play in a competition. I did a couple of training sessions before Christmas with my old team, and they were all right. I mean, it was enjoyable to be with the boys again, but I stopped because I genuinely don't enjoy it.
It's different,
and it sounds weird, but I mean, I absolutely love hockey, but I don't like playing it.
Right, we've got 2 very quick fire questions, although one's quicker than the other, and then we are going to finish there. So we're going to do this one first, and good luck trying to get this one down into short. Thoughts on Pro League,
right.
Also impacts on player and club relationship and focus. So what's your thoughts on the Pro League, and how do you think it affects players and club relationships? That's not a short question.
Wow. What's my thoughts on the Pro League? I'd like to be in it. Mm-hmm. Definitely. I think it. I didn't like the decision by the FIH that we weren't selected. I completely understand it, but I didn't like it, of course. Mm-hmm. Just because on a competition level, I'd like to be competing with the top regularly every year, and it's at a detriment to second-tier nations that the Pro League exists at the moment. I know there are plans for a competition to be put into place next year, and then the following year for there to be promotion into the Pro League. Mm-hmm. And that's as it should be. And I also understand why it's not been put into place until now. I think with regards to clubs, it depends how every nation sets it out. It's not for certain nations, it's going to be good for their national team, good for their clubs. Some it's going to be good for one, good for the other. It's not a way to what's the word in English? Not bet on your clubs. To invest in clubs. Of course, it's not. It's investing at the other level, at the other end. But that is also important.
Yeah.
Let's not forget that the Olympics is where money comes into hockey.
Correct.
But the club level, as I said earlier on, the clubs in Spain are so important. Without clubs, that would also not exist. Yeah. Both are key.
Yeah.
And I think in Spain, they find the best balance they can with the congested program there is.
Yeah. Last question. This is from Taj. How have you used this lockdown to improve or keep your coaching moving forwards?
Oh, you have no idea, Taj.
We've had a lot of conversations about this, and we're both on the same.
Oh my god. Because in Spain we're not allowed out of the house at all. So I've only been out. I've been out in the last couple of days to walk around because that's been allowed since last week. But I had 50 days where I went out 4 times to go shopping, and that was it. I didn't leave the flat. So I have learned hockey-wise. I've attended a couple of webinars here and there, which were pretty good. I observed like the FH ones. I actually facilitated the FH, the first FH workshop in Spanish
which
yesterday,
is so
which was
cool.
Really cool. Yeah, that was really cool. But hockey-wise, I haven't really done too much other than staff meetings.
Yeah,
I took a break from that, but I've been really big on learning the ins and outs of all of the updates for NAC Sport, the analysis software that we use at the club and at the national team. And I'm currently restructuring a proposal for how we want to move on with our analysis for the senior team. I've also been learning about type, writing copy, graphic design, using video editing software like DaVinci Resolve to learn how to present, learn how to be better with my coach education that I'd like to get more involved in. And I've spent countless hours just watching hour-long videos about the importance of contrast in a typeface on a white poster. But it's fascinating, and I love it.
I think you and I are so similar, because a similar boat in that, yes, still concentrating on my hockey, but I am loving learning something which is going to help my coaching and is going to help Sport 101 and everything else. But at the same time, it's nothing to do with hockey. Like learning something that is creative and getting that creative side going. Love it. And I'm the same with you. I could watch hours of YouTube. It's like my favorite thing. So, yeah.
All that graphic design stuff and type stuff, with this restructuring I'm doing of our analysis for the national team, I'm applying that to that. So our code windows and our report windows, I'm designing, so I'm doing the backgrounds outside of the program and importing them in so that when the coaches had them, they look awesome.
Yeah.
So
nice.
Our code windows are structured into different sections, well, the ones that I'm proposing, and the backgrounds look like iPads. And
cool.
and then I've got like in the report windows, I'm pulling out things with different sort of shadows and different. I'm making it look like it's like with really good user interfaces, user experiences, like I'm seeing on Instagram and stuff like that. And basically just copying that and putting them in there, and it's great just to make that process for the national team better. It's like the difference is that, but if it's going to make the coaches' lives easier, and that could make the girls receive the information better, I must have put in hundreds of hours on this. But I'm quite happy to do it get the best for the girls, basically.
Mate, this has been an absolute joy, and thank you for being my first live show. This has been big learning experience to get to this point. So yeah, this has been part of my learning to get to this. I've had a wicked time. This has been so much fun, and I can't thank you enough for your time. Anybody watching, I've linked Andrew's kind of social media stuff all across the Sport 101 social media, so definitely go check him out. He's got some great stuff on Instagram at the moment, so please go check that out. Shameless plug from me, all those that are still here watching, if you've not subscribed already, go press that button. It helps me out a lot. It makes the world a difference. So thank you all very much for getting involved. It's been wicked fun. Mate, thank you very much, and I will speak to you soon, buddy. Take care.
Cheers, mate. Cheers, everyone.
Bye.